Hejsan, välkommen till Rauta metal rock release. Let's talk about Alfahanne from Sweden. This band comes with a new album that is one of the early ones of 2024 I got to review, and comes packed with an old school photo of the band. Those who have been following the channel already know that I got to see these guys play live as well as to interview them at Steelfest 2022. What a fine bunch of nice guys doing some really good, and I might say kind of unique music as well. Now, despite the name, despite country of origin and all that stuff, people who are looking now for Metal Archive's link for Alfahanne are gonna be disappointed. As much metallic the whole band sounds, as much as I think it should be on Metal Archives, for a reason or another, this band has not made their way there. And I guess this is partially because some more puristic take on the band by some people. That is, Alfahanne has been always flirting with black metal, but also crust and rock, punk, what have you. Maybe not crust exactly, but you get the idea. Punk, rock music, black metal, blend it together and do it with the Swedish seasoning and you're good to go. Now, because of that, this time I won't be using Metal Archive's site here as the background, but use first of all Discogs and then the band's own Bandcamp site for information. So a quick look here gives you the idea what the band has been doing since, well, past 10 years or so. I got to fall in love with the band with their debut album Alfahanne when it came out 2014. It seems like it's been even more than that, but sometimes times fly faster, sometimes because of multiple albums it feels like, hey, it has to be more than that. Anyway, this is the album that got me really interested in the band and basically made me sort of a fan anyway, already when it made the way through Dark Essence Records. The next year came the second album, Blood Eld Alpha, which I also like. And now, then it fell kind of out of the radar, whatever happened with these indie recordings things and the Rhino Wrath ones. Well, unfortunately, I kind of missed it. Well, as much as a fan I can be, what matters is what I get to review and all that stuff, and then I get kind of drowned with that, and sometimes bands that go for labels that don't do so much promotion and all that stuff, well, they are more or less, bound to get kind of forgotten. It's the sad reality of review work. When you're not exactly following bands on, streaming services and whatnot, you have this trait that you're most likely going to miss some of the releases. On the other hand, that is exactly why I got to review a lot of interesting releases, which I might be totally clueless of without the possibility of getting these review copies. So you win some, so lose some. This disclaimer is partially here for me to explain that I really can't compare this album, whatever the guys did back in the days. The reason is rather simple. I simply haven't heard them. But it wasn't that long time ago when I was, listening to my own record collection, starting in alphabetical order. I went through the letter A, and of course, Alfahanne was there. So I went through these two early albums out, and I was like, they're still so good. Why I haven't been checking out them since then? Well, now you know. Anyway, because of that, because of those two albums, when I got the information that Alfahanne is back with a new album, or Tid nu, I was like, okay, I was writing to the very same day to the label, I want to get a review copy of this. I want to talk about this band because I like it. They were so good live. They were a nice bunch to talk to when doing the interview. And of course, I like the music. So this goes to my personal collection. Why so? Because it's a goddamn good album. And as such, one of the first 2024 contenders for album of the year, whenever the list will be made by the end of the year, December. So let's see how it is when we get that far. That's still some 12 months away, but be it as it may. Well, 11 if you are correct. Anyway, this new album is out on actually the very today that this video is supposed to go out, unless things change drastically. So on the early days of February 2024. And what can I tell you with these 10 tracks is that this is very much leaning to the traditions of Alfahanne. I mean, you certainly have the kind of a black metal vibe there, but it's mostly dominated with the rather punkish, in-your-face ways of executing music. That and rock and roll. But now you have some kind of a almost like country music, or at least bluesy parts, where you have those, I don't know, guitar slides or whatever they're called. I don't in fact know that the word for English that. But anyway, this is so fun because at the same time it's keeping very true to its very core, to its roots, with this rock and punk and black metal combination. At the same time, it's kind of a shedding its skin, being kind of a renewed version of whatever it is to be. That being said, this album is a good, I guess, in a one way, fan service album to the people who like the previous works, especially those early two, which at least I can say that I really, really like a lot. But it doesn't feel like it's a copycat release. It feels like, yes, they're keeping it to the way they prefer it to do, but like I said, some new seasonings and whatnot. Now, what matters to me is that they manage to sound good and unique at the same time. Sometimes bands which are, say, way too unique, sometimes they go way beyond the borders of good music, and like it seems like to be some kind of I don't know, value to sound unique, and then they kind of forget to do good music. Some bands are good because they are not unique at all. So Alfahanne falls into a very, very interesting niche in a way. It's like a tight spot where you're not exactly doing weird stuff just to sound unique, and yet at the same time you have something that isn't really relatable to too many bands out there. Now, in case you wonder why I keep mentioning this black metal background and feeling to the music, is because these guys have been more or less part of the black metal scene since the 90s. For example, some of the guys played in a band called Vinterland back in the days, and those who know their Swedish black metal history, yeah, now you should be ticking the boxes. So the black metal background is kind of shining through the music, which I think is very, very good. On the other hand, this really doesn't sound like black metal one, or else it would probably already be on Metal Archives. So it's more like you have 1/3 of this black metal, 1/3 of this punk, and 1/3 of classic rock, or something in that direction. And that's what makes Alfahanne work so magically. It's a good album by a good band, and I am really happy that they haven't, wandered around too much, but, sounding what they always were doing. And as such, I think you should be checking this one out. Don't let the punky or crusty or rock and roll comments drive you away. Even though it's not black metal as such per se, it definitely has the feeling. And, these elements should be enough reason for you to check out the band. Of course, you will find links provided in the description box. So while I am doing this video, some of the songs are available there, full album not. But by the time you are watching this, you should have the whole album out there on Bandcamp and your streaming services. And then you can go, of course, physical product. And now, since I have the possibility to mention, I still love the first album the most. But these two, that second album and this one, are good contenders, and maybe now finally I will have the time and remember most of all to listen to the previous albums that came after two albums and this one, before this one, and maybe I will be becoming even bigger fan than so far. We shall see about that later on. Now off you go, check out some Alfahanne, and of course I hope you like it. Take care, bye bye.